After I gave him my kidney to save his life, he used my medical records to steal everything I had. If you think you know betrayal, keep watching. You don't. They say no good deed goes unpunished. I used to think that was the cynical worldview of people who had been hurt too many times. Now I know it's not cynicism, it's a warning I should have heeded. My name is Jordan Rivers, and 3 years ago, I made a choice that would cost me everything. My identity, my career, my savings, my health, my peace of mind. I gave a dying man my kidney. He thanked me by stealing my life. But here's what he didn't know. You can't kill someone who's already died once on an operating table. You just make them stronger, meaner, more determined. This is the story of how I died and came back as someone he never saw coming. It started with champagne and good intentions. Isn't that how all disasters begin? September 15th, 2020, the Metropolitan Hospital Foundation Gala at the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan. I was there as a volunteer coordinator, not a guest, not someone who belonged in a room full of people wearing watches worth more than my annual salary. I was 31 years old, working as a medical consultant for pharmaceutical companies, making decent money but drowning in student loans from my master's in healthcare administration. I volunteered with the hospital foundation because my mother had been a nurse there for 20 years before she passed, and it felt like honoring her memory. The gala was black tie, elegant, the kind of event where people donated six figures while eating tiny portions of expensive food. I was in the back, making sure the silent auction ran smoothly when the keynote speaker took the stage. Ethan Cross. He was 34. Handsome in that deliberate way some men cultivate: good haircut, expensive suit that fit perfectly, the kind of smile that made you want to trust him. But it was his story that captivated the room. 3 years ago, he began, his voice carrying that perfect blend of vulnerability and strength. I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney failure. I was 31 years old, building a medical technology company, and my body was shutting down. The room went silent. The doctors gave me 2 options: dialysis for the rest of my life or a transplant. The wait list was 7 years. I had maybe 3. So I did what any entrepreneur does when faced with impossible odds. I decided to innovate my way out of it. He explained how he had started CrossMed Technologies from his dialysis chair, developing software to improve organ matching algorithms and transplant coordination. How he had raised money while hooked up to machines, how he had built a company while his body failed. I'm still on that wait list, he said, and I could see the exhaustion beneath his polished exterior. Still doing dialysis 3 times a week. Still building CrossMed because if I can't save myself, maybe I can save others. Every algorithm we develop, every efficiency we find, means more people get organs faster, means fewer people die waiting. The applause was thunderous. The donations poured in. $2.7 million raised that night for kidney disease research. I should have stayed in the back. Should have done my job and gone home. But something about his story pulled at me. Maybe because my mother had died of a disease she couldn't fight. Maybe because I had always been the kind of person who wanted to fix things, to help, to make a difference. I found him after the speeches, standing alone near the terrace, looking exhausted. That was a powerful talk, I said. He turned, and up close, I could see what the stage lights had hidden: the gray pallor of someone chronically ill, the slight tremor in his hands, the way he leaned against the railing like standing was difficult. Thank you. I'm Ethan. He extended his hand. Jordan. I volunteer with the foundation. My mother was a nurse here. Was? Ovarian cancer, 5 years ago. I'm sorry. That's... He paused, grimacing. You okay? Just tired. Dialysis this morning. I probably should have skipped tonight, but the foundation needed a speaker who could pull heartstrings and open wallets. He smiled wryly. I'm very good at pulling heartstrings. You're also very good at opening wallets. $2.7 million is impressive. It is. But it won't save me. Nothing will unless a kidney materializes, and statistically, I will be dead before my number comes up. The matter-of-fact way he said it, like he was discussing the weather, shocked me. You can't think like that. Why not? It's the truth. I'm a medical tech CEO who understands statistics better than most doctors. My odds are bad. So I make the most of whatever time I have left. There was something magnetic about his resignation mixed with determination. Something that made me want to prove him wrong. What's your blood type? I heard myself ask. O positive. Why? I'm O positive. So is 38% of the population. It's the most common blood type, but it means I could be tested. As a donor, Ethan stared at me. You don't even know me. I know you're building something that could help thousands of people. I know you're 34 years old and you shouldn't die because you're waiting in a line. I know my mother spent her whole life helping people, and this feels like something she would want me to do. Jordan, kidney donation is serious. It's major surgery. There are risks, complications. You would be giving up an organ to a stranger based on a 20-minute conversation at a charity gala. So you are saying no? I'm saying you should think about it. Really think about it. Not get swept up in the emotion of a sad story and expensive champagne. I don't drink champagne. Makes me sneeze. He laughed a real laugh, not the polished one from the stage. Okay, fair. But seriously? Jordan, go home, sleep on it. If you still want to get tested in a week, I'll give you my transplant coordinator's information. Give it to me now. You are stubborn. I'm decisive. There's a difference. He pulled out his phone, sent me a contact. Her name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She coordinates my medical team at Mount Sinai. But Jordan, don't do this because you feel sorry for me. Do it because you genuinely want to. Because if you're not 100% sure, you'll regret it. I wasn't 100% sure. I was maybe 60% sure and 40% champagne-induced optimism, mixed with the memory of my mother's face when she had been too sick to help anyone anymore. But 60% felt like enough. The testing process was extensive. Blood work, tissue typing, cross-matching, psychological evaluation, medical history, financial counseling. You understand you're not obligated to do this, the transplant psychologist told me during my evaluation. Even if you're a match, you can say no at any time. No one will judge you. I understand. Why do you want to do this? I had been asked that question a dozen times by different doctors. I had given different answers, wanting to help, believing in his work, honoring my mother's legacy. All true, but the psychologist wanted deeper, because I spent my mother's last year watching her fade away, knowing there was nothing I could do to stop it. And now I have a chance to stop that from happening to someone else. How do I not take that chance? You don't know Ethan Cross personally. Does that matter? He's a person who needs help and I can help him. Isn't that enough? Some people donate for the wrong reasons, seeking validation or hero worship or trying to fill a void. And if I'm doing it for all those reasons, plus the right ones, she smiled. Then you're human, and probably a good match in more ways than tissue typing. The test took 6 weeks. During that time, Ethan and I became friends. Coffee meetings where he told me about CrossMed, about his vision for revolutionizing organ transplant logistics. Dinners where I told him about my work, my mother, my dreams of maybe starting my own healthcare consulting firm someday. You should do it, he said over Thai food in his apartment in Chelsea. The consulting firm. You're wasted working for other people, says the CEO. Says the CEO, who would have hired you in a heartbeat if we had met under different circumstances. You understand healthcare systems in a way most consultants don't. You see the human side, not just the metrics. That doesn't pay well. It pays in job satisfaction, and eventually actual money if you're smart about it. I looked around his apartment, sleek, modern, expensive. Easy to say when you've already made it. I haven't made it yet. CrossMed is valued at $50 million, but I don't own most of it anymore. VCs do. I'm comfortable, but I'm not rich, and none of it matters if I'm dead. He said it casually, but I saw the fear underneath. The constant awareness of mortality. You're not going to die. You don't know that. Actually, I do. I got the call this morning. I'm a perfect match. End quote. Ethan went completely still. What? 6 out of 6 antigens. Dr. Mitchell said it's rare, especially for unrelated donors. She called it remarkably compatible. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not dying. His eyes filled with tears. Actual tears running down his face. Jordan, I don't know what to say. Say you'll make it worth it. Say you'll build that company and save thousands of people. Say you'll live the life you're supposed to live. I promise, he whispered. I promise I'll make this mean something. The surgery was scheduled for November 18th, 2020. Laparoscopic nephrectomy, They would remove my left kidney through small incisions, keeping recovery time shorter than traditional open surgery. You'll be in the hospital 3 to 4 days, doctor, Mitchell explained. Full recovery is 6 to 8 weeks. You'll have some pain, some fatigue. Long term, most donors live completely normal lives with one kidney. Most? Some donors experience complications, chronic pain, high blood pressure, fatigue. It's rare, but it happens. That's why we're very careful about who we approve. The night before surgery, Ethan came to my apartment with dinner and legal documents. What's this? Protection. For you. I had my lawyers draw up an agreement that guarantees your medical expenses are covered for life, anything related to the donation, plus a fund for any income lost during recovery, and a job offer at CrossMed when you're ready, if you want it. Ethan, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're giving me your organ, Jordan. Literally a piece of your body so I can live. The least I can do is make sure you're protected. I signed the documents without reading them carefully. A mistake that would cost me everything, though I didn't know it then. I'm scared, I admitted. Of the surgery? Of all of it. What if something goes wrong? What if your body rejects it? What if I wake up and regret this? Then we deal with it. Together. You're not alone in this, Jordan. I'm going to take care of you, I promise. Another promise. He was good at those. Surgery day was surreal. My brother Marcus came from Boston to be there, worried and disapproving. You barely know this guy, he said in the pre-op room. I know enough. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're giving away an organ to someone you met at a party 2 months ago. That's not charity, Jordan. That's insanity. It's my choice. It's a choice you can't take back. Once that kidney is gone, it's gone. What if you need it someday? What if your remaining kidney fails? The doctors say my risk is minimal. Minimal isn't zero. Marcus, I'm doing this. I need you to support me, not fight me. He grabbed my hand. I do support you. I just hope he deserves this. They wheeled me into surgery at 7 a.m. The anesthesia hit fast. One moment I was staring at ceiling lights. The next I was waking up in recovery, pain screaming through my abdomen, a nurse's face hovering above me. Surgery went well, she said. Both kidneys are functioning beautifully. You're going to be fine. But I wasn't fine. Not even close. The first week was hell. The pain was worse than they had predicted, not just at the incision sites, but deep, aching pain in my remaining kidney that made breathing difficult. My blood pressure spiked. I developed a fever. This happens sometimes, Dr. Mitchell said, but her expression was concerned. Your body is adjusting. Give it time. Ethan, meanwhile, was thriving. His body accepted my kidney immediately. His color returned. His energy skyrocketed. By day 3, he was walking the hospital halls. By day 5, he was discharged. I was in the hospital for 12 days. Infection at one of the incision sites, kidney function concerns, blood pressure that wouldn't stabilize. The medical bills started arriving before I was even released. My insurance covered 80%, but 20% of a major surgery and 12-day hospital stay is still tens of thousands of dollars. The agreement covers this, I told Ethan when he visited. Right? The documents you had me sign? Absolutely. Don't worry about money. Focus on healing. But the bills kept coming. And when I called the number on Ethan's legal agreement, I got a voicemail that was never returned. By January 2021, I was physically recovered enough to work, but something was wrong. Chronic fatigue that made getting through a full day impossible. Pain in my remaining kidney that came and went without warning. Blood pressure that required daily medication. And something else, cognitive fog, difficulty concentrating, memory issues. Post-surgical complications, my doctor said. Some donors experience this. It usually resolves within a year. Usually. I couldn't work full-time anymore. My consulting clients started dropping me because I couldn't maintain my schedule. My income plummeted from $120,000 a year to maybe $40,000 in sporadic freelance work. The medical bills kept coming. $47,000 in expenses my insurance wouldn't cover. I called Ethan's office repeatedly. His assistant always said he was unavailable. In meetings, traveling. When I finally got him on the phone in February, he sounded distracted. Jordan, hey. Sorry I've been hard to reach. CrossMed just closed a huge funding round. We're expanding like crazy. That's great, Ethan. About the medical expenses. Oh, right. Send them to my assistant. We'll process them. I've sent them 3 times. No one's responded. Really? That's weird. I'll look into it. The agreement you had me sign. I'll have my lawyers review it. Don't worry. We'll take care of you. I promised, didn't I? He did promise. But promises were starting to feel meaningless. March 2021 brought the first real warning that something was very wrong. I received a credit card application denial for a card I had never applied for. Then a collections notice for a medical device purchase I had never made. Then a letter from the IRS about unreported income. I called my bank. Someone had tried to open a checking account in my name in Florida. The application was denied because of conflicting addresses, but the attempt was flagged. This is identity theft, the bank security officer told me. You need to file a police report and put a freeze on your credit immediately. I did both. But the alerts kept coming. Someone had used my information to create a business entity in Delaware. Someone had accessed my medical records flagged as suspicious activity by Mount Sinai's system. Someone was systematically trying to steal my identity. I hired an identity theft attorney, $5,000. I couldn't afford to help me investigate. What he found made my blood run cold. The attempts are sophisticated, he said. Whoever's doing this has access to your complete medical history, your social security number, your financial information. The Delaware LLC? It's registered to a medical consulting firm that secured 3 government contracts worth $1.2 million total. Using my credentials? Using your name, your medical consultant license, your certifications. You're listed as the CEO and sole proprietor. But you didn't create it. Who did? That's the interesting part. The IP address traces back to CrossMed Technologies. The room spun. That's impossible. That's Ethan's company. Is there any reason Ethan Cross would have access to your medical records? He was my transplant recipient. We share some medical files for the donation process. And your social security number? Your professional credentials? I thought about the legal documents I had signed the night before surgery. The ones I had barely read, trusting Ethan to protect me. I signed some agreements, I said slowly. Medical expense coverage, income protection. I didn't read them carefully. I need to see those documents. Because if they contained authorization for him to access your personal information, you might have inadvertently given him everything he needed to commit identity fraud. If you've ever helped someone who later betrayed you, subscribe right now. Because what happens next will make your situation look tame. I promise you this gets darker than you think. Hit that subscribe button or you'll miss the moment Jordan realizes just how deep the betrayal goes. I called Ethan 37 times before he finally answered. Jordan, I've been meaning to call you back. Things have been insane. Did you steal my identity? Silence. Long, heavy silence. What are you talking about? A Delaware LLC in my name. Government contracts using my credentials. IP addresses from CrossMed. Did you steal my fucking identity, Ethan? Jordan, you're not making sense. I think you should. Answer the question. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe there was a data breach. Maybe someone at the hospital. Don't lie to me. I gave you my kidney. The least you can do is tell me the truth. I think you're experiencing some post-surgical confusion. That can happen. I'm not confused. Someone created a business in my name, using my medical records, my professional license, information they could only access through the transplant files. You had access to those files. So did 100 hospital employees. So did insurance companies, coordinators, nurses. But only you benefited from me being too sick to work. Only you benefited from my credentials being available while I'm incapacitated. This was you. Jordan, you're making serious accusations without proof. I saved your life. I saved your life. And I'm grateful. But I'm not going to let you accuse me of crimes based on paranoia and stress. Get help, please, for your own sake. He hung up. I sat in my apartment, the apartment I was 3 months behind on rent for because my income had collapsed and felt something inside me break. Not break like shatter. Break like calcify, like transform into something harder and colder than bone. My attorney connected me with Detective Sarah Chen from the NYPD's Financial Crimes Unit. I've been investigating CrossMed Technologies for 6 months, she told me during our first meeting. You are not the first victim. You are number 7. The room spun. 7? Ethan Cross has a pattern. He targets potential organ donors, people with medical backgrounds, professional licenses, access to healthcare systems. He befriends them, accepts their donations, then uses the medical relationship and shared records to commit identity theft. But the transplant coordinators, the hospital, they are not looking for it. Organ donation creates a unique paper trail. Shared medical records, shared insurance information, emergency contact exchanges. It's an identity thief's paradise if they are sophisticated enough to exploit it. The other victims: a nurse in Phoenix who donated a liver segment, an EMT in Seattle who donated bone marrow, a medical technician in Dallas who donated a kidney. All of them had their professional credentials stolen and used to create shell companies or secure contracts. All of them were left with medical debt and ruined credit while Ethan built his empire. Why isn't he in jail? Because he's smart. The paper trail is elaborate. He uses third parties, offshore accounts, shell companies within shell companies. Proving he orchestrated it all is nearly impossible without a confession or direct evidence. I signed documents he gave me before surgery. Could those be evidence? Let me see them. I showed her the legal agreements. Sarah read them carefully, her expression darkening. This is brilliant, she said finally, in the most evil way possible. Section 7, subsection C. Donor grants recipient limited power of attorney for medical decision-making and coordination purposes during recovery period, including but not limited to insurance claim filing, medical record access, and healthcare provider communication. I thought that was so he could help with my medical bills. It's authorization for him to access everything: your insurance information, your medical records, your social security number through medical billing, your professional credentials through your medical consultant license registration. Combined with your signature on these documents, he had legal cover to present himself as acting on your behalf. So he's been stealing my identity legally? Technically, you authorized him to access your information. What he did with that access is illegal, but proving he exceeded his authorization is hard. He will claim any contracts or businesses were created with your knowledge as part of helping you generate income during recovery. That's insane. That's sophisticated fraud. And you're not the only one. The other 6 victims all signed similar documents. All thought they were being protected. All ended up violated instead. What can I do? Help us build a case. The more documentation we have, the more victims who come forward, the harder it is for him to claim this is all a misunderstanding. But I need to warn you, this is going to get worse before it gets better. He knows you're onto him now. People like Ethan don't take exposure well. She was right. It got much worse. Within a week of my confrontation with Ethan, articles started appearing online. MedTech Weekly, CrossMed CEO targeted by unstable former donor. Healthcare Innovators blog. When organ donation goes wrong, a case study in donor regret. The anonymous post on Reddit, our transplant. I donated a kidney to save someone's life, and now I'm stalking them because I regret my decision and want attention. AITA? All of them painted the same picture. I was an unstable woman who had developed an unhealthy fixation on Ethan, who regretted my donation decision, who was now making false accusations because I wanted money or attention or revenge. This is defamation, my attorney said. But it's hard to prove. None of these articles name you directly, but they're clearly about me. The timeline, the details, I know. But without direct identification, we can't sue. And even if we could, the damage is done. Your reputation in the medical consulting field is destroyed. He was right. Former clients wouldn't return my calls. Job applications went unanswered. When I finally got someone on the phone to ask why, they were blunt. We can't hire someone with credibility issues. The stories about you online, we can't risk that kind of liability. Those stories are lies. Maybe. But perception is reality in this industry. I'm sorry, Jordan. By June 2021, I was unemployed, $73,000 in medical debt, 3 months behind on rent, and completely blacklisted in my profession. And Ethan? CrossMed had just closed a $50 million Series C funding round. He was featured in Forbes as one of 30 under 35 healthcare innovators to watch. The article mentioned his transplant. Cross credits his second chance at life for his relentless drive. Someone gave me the ultimate gift, he says. I owe it to them and to the thousands of people on waiting lists to make every day count. Someone. Not me. Someone anonymous and noble. I sat in my apartment reading that article and made a decision. I was going to destroy him. Completely. Permanently. But first, I needed evidence he couldn't deny. Detective Chen's plan was risky. Wear a wire and confront Ethan directly. Try to get him to confess on tape. He's too smart for this, I warned. He won't just admit to fraud. People like Ethan have egos, Sarah countered. Especially when they think they have one. You're broke, blacklisted, and desperate. He thinks you are powerless. That's when narcissists get cocky. That's when they gloat. And if he doesn't, then we try something else. But right now, this is our best shot at getting admissible evidence. I called Ethan and begged for a meeting, played the desperate victim, said I needed help, that I was drowning, that I just wanted to understand what happened. He agreed surprisingly quickly. I'm glad you're ready to talk rationally, he said. I have been worried about you, Jordan. You have been through so much. We met at a restaurant in Midtown, his choice, expensive. The kind of place where he could be seen being magnanimous to the poor woman he had saved. I wore the wire under my shirt. Detective Chen and her team were parked 2 blocks away, listening. Ethan looked incredible, healthy, tanned, wearing a suit that probably cost $5,000. The kidney I had given him had transformed his life in every visible way. Jordan, he said warmly, standing to hug me. You look tired. I am tired. I'm broke, Ethan. The medical bills. I thought the agreement covered those. The agreement you never honored. I have sent the bills to your office 6 times. No one responds. That's strange. I'll have someone look into it. I need help, real help. I can't work. I can't pay my bills. I'm going to lose my apartment. Jordan, I'm sorry you're struggling, but you made the choice to donate. No one forced you. You are responsible for your own recovery. You promised you would take care of me. I promised to honor what you had done. I have done that. CrossMed has helped thousands of people because I survived long enough to build it. You should feel proud. I feel destroyed. That's unfortunate, but it's not my responsibility to manage your emotional response to a choice you made freely. I could see Detective Chen's strategy. He was being defensive, but not confessing. I needed to push harder. What about the identity theft? I said. The business in my name? The contracts using my credentials? His expression didn't change. What business? The Delaware LLC, the government contracts, the IP addresses from CrossMed. Jordan, I genuinely don't know what you're talking about. If someone at CrossMed accessed your information inappropriately, that's a serious breach. I'll have our security team investigate. Stop lying to me, Ethan. I'm not lying. I'm offering to help investigate what sounds like a serious crime. Unless, he paused, studying me. Unless you are making this up. Unless this is part of some delusion you've developed. I'm not delusional. Are you sure? Because from where I'm sitting, you seem unstable. You donated an organ, and now you are experiencing medical complications and financial stress. That can cause psychological issues, paranoia, fixation, false accusations. The police are investigating you. Are they? Interesting. I haven't been contacted by any police, but if I am, I'll cooperate fully. I have nothing to hide. He was smooth. Too smooth. He had done this before. Deflect, sympathize, subtly suggest the victim was crazy. Why are you doing this? I asked, my voice breaking. I saved your life, and I'm grateful. But Jordan, gratitude doesn't mean I owe you my life in return. You made a generous choice. It's not my fault that choice had consequences you didn't anticipate. You used me. I accepted a gift. That's all. And now I think you're experiencing donor's remorse and looking for someone to blame. I understand. I really do. But I can't fix your life for you. That's not my job. He stood, dropping cash on the table. I hope you get help, Jordan. Real help. Therapy, maybe. Because these accusations, they're not healthy. And they're not going to end well for you. He walked away, leaving me sitting there with a wire taped to my chest and no confession. Did you get anything? I asked Sarah when I met her at the van. Not enough, she admitted. He's too careful. He admits nothing, sympathizes just enough to seem reasonable, and paints you as unstable. It won't hold up in court. So what now? Now we try a different approach, because the wire might not have worked, but it told us something important. Ethan thinks he's untouchable. That's his weakness. How? Because untouchable people make mistakes. They get arrogant. They overreach. We just need to wait for him to overreach. I didn't have the luxury of waiting. My eviction notice came the next week. July 2021. I lost my apartment. Everything I owned fit in my brother Marcus's spare bedroom in Boston. He had offered to let me stay indefinitely, but I could see the strain it put on his family. His wife Sarah was kind but uncomfortable. Their kids asked questions. Why is Aunt Jordan always sleeping? Why does she cry all the time? Did she do something bad? I had done something good. That was the problem. The medical debt had ballooned to $89,000 with late fees and interest. Collections agencies called daily. My credit score had dropped to 490. I couldn't get a job, couldn't rent an apartment, couldn't even get approved for a cell phone plan. And my health kept deteriorating. The chronic fatigue was worse. The kidney pain was constant. My blood pressure required 3 medications just to stay in a dangerous range. This happens to some donors, my doctor said. Long-term complications. Your remaining kidney is struggling to compensate. We're monitoring it closely. And if it fails, then you would need a transplant yourself. But given your medical history and financial situation, getting approved for the transplant list would be difficult. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had given a kidney to save someone's life and now might need one to save my own. And I would probably die waiting because I couldn't afford the medical care required to qualify for the list. I spent August in a fog of depression and pain, couldn't get out of bed most days, lived on disability payments that barely covered my medication. Marcus sat with me one night in late August. You need to let this go, he said gently. The thing with Ethan. It's eating you alive. He stole my life. Then build a new one. Stop focusing on revenge and start focusing on recovery. How? I can't work. I can't pay my bills. I can't even leave your house without wanting to collapse. So focus on getting healthy first. The rest will come. Will it? Because from where I'm sitting, Ethan won. He got my kidney, my identity, my career, and he's thriving. And I'm dying in your guest room at 32 years old. You're not dying. I'm not living. There's a difference. That night, I hit absolute rock bottom. Stood in Marcus's bathroom with a bottle of pain pills, seriously considering whether anyone would miss me if I disappeared permanently. My phone rang. Detective Sarah Chen. Jordan, I need you to come back to New York. We've got something big. I can't afford. I'll pay for the train ticket myself if I have to. But you need to be here, because we finally found it, the evidence that connects Ethan to all 7 victims, and it's going to bring him down. I stared at the pills in my hand, then at my phone. I'll be there tomorrow, I said. I flushed the pills. Sometimes, the thing that saves you isn't the thing you expected. What Detective Chen found the evidence that cracks this case wide open. It's the turning point. Comment justice if you think Ethan's arrest will be enough. Comment revenge if you think Jordan deserves more. Let's see what you really believe about payback. Subscribe or you'll miss the moment Jordan transforms from victim to predator. Detective Chen's office in Manhattan was covered in evidence boards, photos, documents, connecting red strings that looked like something from a crime thriller. This is beautiful, she said, gesturing to the boards. In the most damning way possible, she pointed to the first board. 7 victims. All organ donors to Ethan Cross over the past 4 years. Liver, kidney, bone marrow, different organs, same pattern. The photos showed faces I had never seen but somehow recognized. People who looked tired, defeated, broken. People like me. Victim 1, Amanda Pierce, Phoenix, donated liver segment in 2017. Within 3 months, her medical billing credentials were used to create a home healthcare company that defrauded Medicare for $800,000. Victim 2, David Nguyen, Seattle, donated bone marrow in 2018. His pharmaceutical licensing credentials were used to import prescription drugs illegally. He's currently serving 18 months in federal prison for crimes he didn't commit. My stomach dropped. He went to prison? He couldn't prove he wasn't involved. The evidence trail led back to his credentials, his signatures forged but convincing. By the time he proved it was identity theft, he had already been convicted. We're working on his appeal now. Jesus Christ. It gets worse. Victim 3, Rebecca Walsh, Dallas, donated kidney in 2018. Her nurse practitioner license was used to prescribe opioids illegally. She lost her license, her career, and custody of her kids because CPS deemed her drug dealing made her unfit. I felt sick. Victim 4. James Rodriguez, Miami. Donated part of his liver in 2019. His medical equipment certification credentials were used to sell counterfeit surgical supplies to hospitals. 3 people died from infected equipment. He was sued into bankruptcy. And no one connected these? Different cities, different crimes, different law enforcement agencies. No one saw the pattern until I got your case and started digging. That's when I found the connection. All organ donors, all medical professionals, all connected to Ethan Cross. How did you prove it was him? Sarah smiled grimly. That's the beautiful part. Ethan's smart, but he's also greedy. He didn't just steal identities, he monetized them through his own network. Every shell company, every fraudulent contract eventually funneled money through a web of LLCs that all connect back to one offshore account. And that account? It's been making regular transfers to CrossMed Technologies' operating expenses. He was funding his company with stolen money. Exactly. He would steal credentials, commit fraud, funnel the money offshore, then use it to fund CrossMed's growth. Investors thought he was profitable. He was just a sophisticated money launderer using stolen identities. Can you prove all this? With your help, yes. Because unlike the other victims, you caught on before he could complete the cycle. That Delaware LLC in your name? It was supposed to secure a $2 million government contract for medical consulting services. But you filed the police report before the contract could be executed. So we froze the company, audited the accounts, and traced everything back to Ethan's network. So you can arrest him? We can arrest him. Federal charges: wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering, mail fraud, healthcare fraud. He's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty. That doesn't fix what he did to us. David is in prison. Rebecca lost her kids. I lost my career, my health, my life. I know, but it stops him from doing it again, and it gives you all legal grounds to sue him civilly for damages. Once he's convicted, you can go after his assets, including his shares in CrossMed, which will be worth nothing once this goes public. Maybe. Or maybe CrossMed can survive without him if the board acts fast. Either way, you'll have your shot at restitution. When? We arrest him tomorrow morning at CrossMed headquarters. I want you there. I want him to see your face when we put him in handcuffs. September 2nd, 2021, 7:42 a.m. I stood across the street from CrossMed Technologies' office building in Soho, watching FBI agents and NYPD detectives position themselves at all exits. You don't have to watch this, Marcus said. He had driven down from Boston with me, refused to let me face this alone. Yes, I do. I need to see it. I need to know it's real. At 7:45 a.m., Ethan arrived in a black town car, looking like a man without a care in the world. Expensive suit, confident stride, the walk of someone who had gotten away with everything. He made it 3 steps into the building lobby before Detective Chen stepped in front of him. Ethan Cross, FBI. You're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud. I couldn't hear his response from across the street, but I saw his face, the shock, the disbelief, the moment he realized his careful house of cards was collapsing. 2 agents handcuffed him, started reading his rights, and then maybe because he sensed he was being watched, maybe because the universe has a sense of irony, Ethan looked across the street directly at me. Our eyes met. In his face, I saw recognition, then understanding, then pure, impotent rage. He had underestimated me, thought I was broken beyond fighting back, thought I would stay down. I smiled at him. Not a warm smile, not a forgiving smile. A smile that said, "You made a mistake. You made me into someone who has nothing left to lose. And people with nothing to lose are dangerous." They put him in the back of an unmarked car and drove away. How do you feel? Marcus asked. I don't know yet. Ask me when the trial's over. The arrest hit the news within hours. The New York Times medical tech CEO arrested in multimillion-dollar identity theft scheme. TechCrunch, CrossMed founder, accused of using organ donors' identities to commit fraud. CNN, FBI arrests healthcare entrepreneur in elaborate fraud ring, targeting his own organ donors. The story had everything the media loved: medical drama, betrayal, vulnerable victims, a charming sociopath. Within 24 hours, I had received 47 interview requests. Don't talk to anyone, my attorney advised. Let the prosecution build their case. Your testimony will be crucial at trial. Don't compromise it with media appearances. But the other victims weren't staying silent. Amanda Pierce from Phoenix did a tearful interview with ABC. I gave him part of my liver to save his life. He thanked me by destroying mine. Rebecca Walsh from Dallas appeared on CNN. I lost my children because of what he did. He stole my identity and used it to commit crimes, and the state took my kids away because they thought I was a drug dealer. How do I explain to them that their mother isn't a criminal? That I was trying to help someone? David Nguyen, calling from federal prison. I'm serving time for crimes Ethan Cross committed using my name, and he's been living free, getting rich, being celebrated as a healthcare innovator. The system failed all of us. The stories kept emerging. 7 victims, millions of dollars in fraud, lives destroyed while Ethan built an empire. CrossMed's board issued a statement. We are shocked and dismayed by these allegations. Ethan Cross has been suspended pending the outcome of the investigation. CrossMed Technologies was built on a mission to save lives, and these accusations represent a betrayal of everything we stand for. Within a week, they had fired him entirely and were scrambling to distance themselves from their founder. Ethan's defense team tried the only strategy they had: attack the victims. These are disgruntled organ donors experiencing medical complications and financial stress, his lead attorney told reporters. They're looking for someone to blame for their own poor decisions. Mr. Cross is a visionary entrepreneur who accepted generous gifts from people trying to help him. He's not responsible for their subsequent life choices. It might have worked if the evidence wasn't so damning. The FBI had everything: financial records, emails, testimony from the offshore banking contacts who had helped Ethan launder money, digital forensics showing his personal computer accessing victim databases, even video footage of him meeting with identity brokers. This wasn't he said, she said. This was a paper trail leading directly to a man who had systematically exploited the most vulnerable people in his life. During the investigation, something else emerged. Ethan had never been as sick as he had claimed. His kidney disease was real, Detective Chen explained. But it wasn't stage 4. It was stage 2, maybe stage 3 on a bad day, treatable with medication and lifestyle changes. He was never actually dying. What about the dialysis? I saw him hooked up to machines. He did dialysis because it made the story more compelling. Because donors are more likely to step forward for someone who's actively dying rather than someone who's just sick. He orchestrated the whole thing, exaggerated his symptoms, doctored some medical records, convinced doctors he was worse off than he was. So I gave him my kidney for nothing? You gave him your kidney because you're a good person who believed his lies. That's on him, not you. But it felt like it was on me. I had been so eager to help, so ready to be a hero, that I hadn't questioned anything. Hadn't demanded to see his medical records. Hadn't gotten a second opinion. I had just believed. The psychological evaluation from the transplant team should have caught it. But Ethan had been charming, convincing, skilled at manipulation. He's done this before, Sarah said. We found records of 2 previous transplant relationships that fell through at the last-minute donors who backed out because something felt wrong. He's been perfecting this con for years. How many kidneys does he have now? Just yours. The other donors backed out before surgery. You're the only one who actually went through with it. Lucky me. The trial began in February 2022, federal courthouse in Manhattan. Media circus outside. Protesters with signs. Justice for organ donors, and Ethan Cross is a predator. I testified on the 3rd day. Walking into that courtroom, seeing Ethan sitting at the defense table in a suit that probably cost more than my medical debt, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. Because he couldn't hurt me anymore. The worst had already happened. And now I gotta tell the truth. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Jennifer Martinez, walked me through everything. Meeting Ethan at the gala, the testing process, the surgery, the complications, the identity theft, the financial devastation. Miss Rivers, why did you decide to donate your kidney to Mr. Ezemond Cross? Because I believed him when he said he was dying. Because I wanted to help. Because I thought saving someone's life was worth the risk. And what did that decision cost you? Everything. My health, my career, my financial stability, my identity literally and figuratively. I gave him an organ and he took my life in exchange. Ethan's attorney, a slick man named Richard Pemberton, tried to tear me apart on cross-examination. Miss Rivers, isn't it true you've experienced significant medical complications since the donation? Yes. Including cognitive difficulties, memory issues, depression? Yes, but so your perception of events might be colored by your medical condition? My perception is based on bank records, police reports, and federal investigations. My medical condition doesn't change facts. You signed legal documents giving Mr. Cross access to your medical information, correct? Documents I signed the night before major surgery, while scared and trusting. Documents designed to look like protection, but actually gave him permission to access everything. But you did sign them voluntarily? I signed them believing they would protect me. That's different from volunteering to have my identity stolen. Isn't it true you've made numerous attempts to contact Mr. Cross since the donation? That you called him over 100 times? That you showed up at his office uninvited? I called him because he promised to pay my medical bills and didn't. I went to his office because he was stealing my identity. That's not stalking. That's trying to stop a crime. Or it's a woman obsessed with a man who I saved his life. My voice cracked. I gave him my kidney. I'm the donor. He's the recipient. Don't you dare twist that narrative. The judge intervened. Mr. Pemberton, move on. But the damage was done. The defense's strategy was clear. Paint me as unstable, obsessed, a woman scorned rather than a woman victimized. It might have worked if the other 6 victims hadn't testified with eerily similar stories. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. Financial records, digital forensics, testimony from experts, testimony from victims, testimony from FBI agents who had tracked the money. The defense presented Ethan's charm and a narrative of misunderstanding. That he had accepted generous gifts from donors and had no idea third parties were using their information inappropriately. That he was a victim of overzealous prosecution. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. We stood as they filed back in. I held Marcus's hands so tight my fingers went numb. On the count of wire fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of identity theft? Guilty. On the count of money laundering? Guilty. 16 counts. 16 guilty verdicts. Ethan showed no emotion until the last verdict was read. Then his shoulders slumped, and for the first time since I had known him, he looked small. Sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Miss Rivers, how do you feel about the verdict? Relieved. Vindicated. Grateful to the FBI and the prosecution team who believed us. What do you want to happen to Ethan Cross? I want him to serve his sentence. I want him to understand what he did. And I want other potential predators to know that eventually the truth comes out. Do you have a message for other organ donors? I thought about that. About Amanda and David and Rebecca and all the others whose generosity had been weaponized against them. Don't let one monster make you cynical. Organ donation saves lives. Real lives. The problem isn't the system, it's people like Ethan who exploit it. Don't let him ruin something beautiful. April 15th, 2022. Sentencing day. All 7 victims submitted impact statements. I spoke last. Your Honor, I came to this courtroom expecting to feel satisfaction when Ethan Cross was sentenced. But mostly I feel sad. Sad that a man with so much potential chose to destroy rather than build. Sad that 7 people trying to do something good had their generosity turned into a weapon against them. I gave Ethan Cross my kidney because I believed saving a life was worth any sacrifice. I was right about that. Saving lives is worth sacrifice. I was just wrong about whose life I was saving. Ethan didn't need my kidney. Medical records show his disease was manageable. But he needed the story. He needed the narrative of the dying entrepreneur saved by a generous donor. He needed access to my medical records, my information, my identity. I was a means to an end. We all were. 7 people who offered him the most intimate gift possible, a piece of our bodies, and he responded by stealing our lives. I'm 32 years old. I have chronic health problems that will last the rest of my life. I have medical debt I'll probably never pay off. I have a career I can never return to because my reputation was destroyed by crimes committed in my name. But I also have something Ethan Cross will never have. The knowledge that when someone needed help, I gave it. Without conditions, without exploitation, without taking more than I gave. I hope he spends his time in prison learning the difference between taking and giving, between using people and helping them, between building something real and building something on the backs of people you've destroyed. And I hope every day, when he wakes up with the kidney I gave him functioning perfectly in his body, he remembers whose generosity he's living on and feels shame. The judge sentenced Ethan to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 10 years of supervised release. He was ordered to pay $8.7 million in restitution to his victims. Mr. Cross, the judge said, you took advantage of people in their most vulnerable moments, people who were trying to help you, to save you, to give you the gift of life, and you responded with calculated cruelty. This court hopes you use your sentence to become someone who deserves the sacrifices others made for you. They led him away in handcuffs. He looked at me one last time as they did. No words, just a look that said, you won. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching a story, you're witnessing something important. Subscribe right now because what happens next changes everything. Jordan's victory in court is just the beginning. The real comeback? The legendary part? That's what comes next. Comment rise if you're ready to see her rise from these ashes. Winning in court didn't solve my problems. I still had $89,000 in medical debt. I still had no career. I still had health problems that made working full-time impossible. And the $8.7 million restitution, that would take years to collect from Ethan's seized assets, if we ever saw any of it. Federal restitution is notoriously slow, my attorney explained. CrossMed is in bankruptcy proceedings. Ethan's personal assets are being liquidated. You'll probably see a few $100,000 eventually, but the full amount? Don't count on it. So I did what I had always done when systems failed me. I figured it out myself. In June 2022, I filed a civil lawsuit against CrossMed Technologies directly. Not for the identity theft that was Ethan's crime, but for negligent hiring practices and failure to supervise. They should have known, my attorney argued. They had a fiduciary duty to ensure their CEO wasn't using company resources to commit crimes. They failed that duty. CrossMed's insurance company settled for $2.8 million rather than go to trial. After legal fees, I cleared $1.9 million. It was life-changing money. It also wasn't enough. Because money doesn't heal chronic kidney problems. Money doesn't restore a career destroyed by false accusations. Money doesn't give you back the 3 years you spent fighting just to survive. But it was a start. I spent July and August 2022 focused on my health. New doctors, better medications, physical therapy. Actually addressing the chronic pain and fatigue instead of just surviving through it. Your remaining kidney is compensating well, my nephrologist said, but you'll always be at higher risk for complications. You need to monitor this closely for the rest of your life. Because I gave away my backup. Because you made a generous choice that came with consequences. Don't regret the generosity. Just be smart about managing the reality. During one of my follow-up appointments, I met another patient in the waiting room. Her name was Lisa, and she was there for her 6-month post-donation checkup. You donated? I asked. To my brother. Best decision I ever made. She smiled. You? To someone I barely knew. Worst decision I ever made. Oh no. Did something go wrong medically? Something went wrong. Everything. The recipient used my donation to gain access to my medical records and steal my identity. It's a long story. Lisa's face went pale. Wait, are you Jordan Rivers? You have heard of me? Everyone in the donor community has heard of you. What happened to you? It's every donor's nightmare. But you got him convicted. You are kind of a hero. End quote. I don't feel like a hero. I feel like a cautionary tale. You're both. You're proof that even when donation goes horribly wrong, you can fight back and win. We talked for an hour. Lisa was part of an online community of living organ donors. Thousands of people who had donated kidneys, liver segments, bone marrow. She invited me to join. Some of them have had complications, she said. Some regret their decisions. Some have struggled with medical debt or discrimination. You would fit right in. And honestly, they could learn from your experience. I joined the community that night. And what I found shocked me. Hundreds of donors, struggling with the same issues I had faced. Inadequate protections, medical expenses insurance wouldn't cover, employment discrimination, lack of legal safeguards. I lost my job 3 months after donating, one person wrote. They said it was downsizing, but I know it was because I needed too much medical leave. My insurance tried to deny coverage for complications. Another posted. They claimed it was a pre-existing condition even though I was perfectly healthy before donation. I had to declare bankruptcy, a third shared. The medical bills were overwhelming and I couldn't work for 6 months. No one told me donation could destroy me financially. Reading these stories, I realized something. Ethan had weaponized a broken system, but the system itself was the real problem. Organ donors in the U.S. had almost no legal protections, no guaranteed medical coverage for complications, no job protection beyond standard FMLA, no financial safety net, nothing. We were expected to make an extraordinary sacrifice and then just deal with the consequences alone. That's when the idea hit me. What if we didn't have to? In September 2022, I used $500,000 of my settlement to establish the Phoenix Donor Protection Foundation. The mission was simple: protect living organ donors from medical, financial, and legal exploitation. We would provide legal advocacy for donors facing identity theft or exploitation, financial assistance for medical expenses insurance wouldn't cover, job placement services for donors who had lost employment, legislative lobbying for stronger donor protections, education about donor rights and risks. But the most important service was this: a registry. We're going to create a database. I told Marcus, who had agreed to help me set this up. Every living donor can register. We'll verify their donation, document their medical outcomes, track any complications or exploitation, and we'll use that data to show legislators exactly what's going wrong and why we need better protections. That's ambitious. It's necessary. The system failed me. It's failing thousands of donors every year. Someone needs to fix it. And that someone is you? Who else is going to do it? The hospitals? They want donations to continue, so they minimize the risks. The government? They are too busy arguing about healthcare policy to focus on donor protections. The donors themselves? Most of us are too sick or too broke or too exhausted to fight, so you are fighting for all of them. Someone has to. We launched the foundation in October 2022 with a website, a registration system, and a mission statement that went viral in the donor community. You gave someone the gift of life. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your own life to do it. Within 2 weeks, we had 500 registered donors. Within 2 months, 2,000. By the end of the year, over 5,000 living donors had shared their stories, their struggles, their triumphs. And the data was damning. 43% of donors had experienced financial hardship post-donation. 31% had lost jobs or been discriminated against. 28% had medical complications their insurance wouldn't fully cover. And 7%, hundreds of people had experienced some form of exploitation or abuse related to their donation. This is a scandal waiting to explode, Marcus said, reviewing the numbers. Then let's explode it. In January 2023, I was invited to testify before the House Committee on Oversight and Reform about living donor protections. Standing in that committee room, facing legislators who had the power to actually change things, I felt something I hadn't felt since before the donation. Purpose. Members of the committee, I began. My name is Jordan Rivers. 3 years ago, I donated my kidney to save a man's life. That man used my donation to gain access to my medical records and steal my identity. He committed $8.7 million in fraud using my credentials. He destroyed my career, my health, and my financial stability. But I'm not here to talk about my case. I'm here to talk about the 5,000 living donors who have shared their stories with the Phoenix Donor Protection Foundation. People who made generous choices and paid devastating prices because our system doesn't protect them. Every year, approximately 6,000 people donate kidneys to strangers or acquaintances. Thousands more donate liver segments, bone marrow, and other organs. These people save lives, and our system treats them like afterthoughts. Under current law, living donors have no guaranteed medical coverage for complications, no job protection beyond standard FMLA, no financial assistance if donation leads to bankruptcy, no legal recourse if they're exploited, nothing. We ask people to make extraordinary sacrifices and then abandon them to deal with the consequences alone. This is unacceptable. I presented the foundation's data. The stories of donors who had lost jobs, lost homes, lost their health, the financial devastation, the medical complications, the exploitation. These aren't edge cases, I said. This is happening to thousands of donors every year. We just don't talk about it because we're afraid if we acknowledge the risks, people will stop donating. But hiding the truth doesn't protect anyone. It just ensures donors walk into life-altering situations without adequate information or support. I'm asking this committee to pass the Living Donor Protection Act legislation that would guarantee medical coverage for donation-related complications, protect donors from employment discrimination, provide financial assistance for those who need it, and establish criminal penalties for anyone who exploits donors the way I was exploited. If we're going to ask people to give the gift of life, we owe them the gift of protection in return. The testimony went viral. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed 15 million times on YouTube. News outlets picked it up. Celebrities shared it. Donors flooded my foundation with their own stories. And 2 weeks later, representatives from both parties co-sponsored the Living Donor Protection Act. This is happening, Marcus said, showing me the congressional press release. You're actually making this happen. It's not me. It's all the donors who have been fighting in silence for years. I'm just loud enough to be heard. In March 2023, I received an unexpected email. Subject: I owe you an apology. Jordan, you don't know me, but my name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I was Ethan Cross's transplant coordinator at Mount Sinai. I'm writing to apologize. I should have seen the signs, the way he isolated you from other donors, the way he rushed the process, the legal documents he had you sign. These were red flags I was trained to watch for, and I missed them. Or maybe I didn't miss them. Maybe I saw them and ignored them because I was so focused on completing the transplant, on getting Ethan his kidney, that I prioritized his needs over your safety. I have reviewed every transplant I have coordinated since your case. I have implemented new protocols to protect donors. I have flagged 3 potential exploitation cases and stopped them before they could proceed. None of this undoes what happened to you. But I wanted you to know that your story has changed how I do my job, how the entire transplant community thinks about donor protection. If you are ever willing to talk, I would like to hear your thoughts on how we can do better, how transplant programs can protect donors more effectively. I understand if you never want to speak to me, but I had to reach out. I had to tell you that I'm sorry, and that your advocacy is making a real difference. Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I stared at the email for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to tell her it was too little, too late, that apologies don't heal damaged kidneys or restore stolen years. But another part of me, the part that had started the foundation, that had testified before Congress, that had decided to turn pain into purpose, knew that real change required uncomfortable conversations. I wrote back, Dr. Mitchell, thank you for reaching out. I appreciate your apology and your honesty about the system's failures. I would be willing to meet with you and discuss how transplant programs can better protect donors. Not because I forgive you, I'm not there yet, but because preventing future exploitation is more important than nursing past grievances. Let me know when you're available. Jordan. We met 3 weeks later at a coffee shop in Manhattan. Sarah was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with the tired eyes of someone who had been carrying guilt for a long time. I have thought about your case every day since the arrest, she said. I keep replaying the evaluation, the approval process, looking for where I failed you. You trusted him. We all did. That's what con artists do. They're trustworthy right up until they're not. But I'm supposed to be the safeguard. I'm supposed to protect donors from being exploited. And I didn't. So do better now. That's all any of us can do. We talked for 3 hours. About red flags she had learned to watch for. About new protocols Mount Sinai had implemented. About my foundation's work and how transplant centers could better support donors. I want to partner with your foundation, Sarah said. Help develop training materials for transplant coordinators. Teach them what to watch for, how to identify potential exploitation before it happens. That would be valuable. I also want to introduce you to someone, Dr. Lisa Wong at Johns Hopkins. She's been researching long-term donor outcomes, and she's found some concerning patterns, complications that aren't being tracked or reported. Your foundation's registry could help her research. Send me her contact information. As we were leaving, Sarah hesitated. Can I ask you something personal? Maybe. Do you regret donating? If you could go back, knowing everything that would happen, would you still do it? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I regret trusting Ethan. I regret not reading those legal documents more carefully. I regret not protecting myself better. But do I regret trying to save someone's life? No. I regret that the person I tried to save turned out to be a monster. But I don't regret the impulse to help. That's who I am. Ethan exploited that, but he didn't break it. That's remarkable. No, it's stubborn. There's a difference. In April 2023, I was approached by a documentary filmmaker named Maria Santos. I want to tell your story, she said. Not just what Ethan did, but what you've built since. The foundation, the legislation, the movement you've started. This is important. People need to understand what living donors face. I don't want to be the face of this. There are thousands of donors with stories, and we'll tell those stories too. But yours is the anchor. You're the one who fought back, who turned trauma into advocacy. That's the narrative that will make people pay attention. I hesitated. I don't want this to be about revenge or trauma porn. I want it to be about systemic change. That's exactly what it will be. I want to show how broken systems enable exploitation, how vulnerable people fall through cracks, and how one person can catalyze real change. We filmed for 6 months. Interviews with me, with other donors, with transplant coordinators, with legislators, footage of congressional hearings, stories of donors who had been helped by the foundation. The documentary, The Gift and the Cost, premiered at Sundance in January 2024. It won the Audience Award and the Documentary Directing Award. Within a month, it was streaming on Netflix. Within 3 months, it had been viewed by 45 million people worldwide, and the response was overwhelming. March 2024 brought news I had stopped hoping for. The Living Donor Protection Act passed both houses of Congress. The legislation guaranteed lifetime medical coverage for donation-related complications, job protection for donors taking medical leave, tax credits for donation-related expenses, criminal penalties for exploiting donors, federal funding for donor support programs. President signed it into law on April 15th, exactly 2 years after Ethan's sentencing. This is because of you, Marcus said as we watched the signing ceremony. This is because of thousands of donors who shared their stories, who fought for change, who refused to stay silent about what they had been through. I'm just the one who was loud at the right moment. But it did feel like vindication, like proof that the worst thing that ever happened to me had led to something meaningful. 2 weeks after the bill signing, I received a letter from federal prison. Ethan, I almost didn't open it, almost threw it away. But curiosity won. Jordan, I saw the documentary. I saw the legislation you got passed. I saw what you've built from what I destroyed. I could tell you I'm sorry. I could explain why I did what I did. The desperation, the fear of dying, the twisted logic that made me think using people was acceptable if it meant I survived. But you don't need my explanations, and you don't need my apology. What you need is for me to acknowledge the truth. You were right about everything. I used you. I used all 7 of you. I exploited vulnerability and generosity because I could, because I was good at it, because I told myself that survival justified any method. I spent the last 2 years in prison thinking I was a victim of bad luck and overzealous prosecution. I watched your documentary last week and finally understood. I'm not a victim. I'm a predator who got caught. You gave me your kidney because you wanted to save my life. I took your kidney and used it to steal your life. There's no justification for that. No explanation that makes it less monstrous. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know, every day, when I wake up with the kidney you gave me functioning perfectly, I'm reminded of what you sacrificed. And every day, I'm ashamed that I'm living on your generosity while you're still dealing with the consequences of my cruelty. If there's any justice in the universe, it's that you took the worst thing I did and transformed it into something that will protect thousands of people I can never hurt. You made my evil count for something good. That's a kind of alchemy I'll never understand. Asterisk. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that you won. Not just legally, not just legislatively. You won morally, ethically, spiritually, every way that matters. I hope the rest of your life is everything mine wasn't: honest, generous, meaningful. Ethan, I read the letter 3 times. Then I wrote back. One sentence. I didn't win, Ethan. I survived. There's a difference. But thank you for finally telling the truth. I never heard from him again. We're almost at the end. But the most powerful part is still coming. Subscribe, because what Jordan builds in the next 2 years will inspire you in ways you can't imagine. Comment legendary if you believe comeback stories can change the world. By mid-2024, the Phoenix Donor Protection Foundation had grown beyond anything I had imagined. We had 15,000 registered donors in our database, $12 million in funding from grants and donations, a legal team providing free representation to exploited donors, a medical fund that had covered $4.7 million in uncovered donor expenses, partnership agreements with every major transplant center in the U.S., international chapters forming in Canada, UK, and Australia. We had also identified and stopped 47 potential exploitation cases, donors who were being pressured, manipulated, or set up for identity theft. You've built an empire, Marcus said during our quarterly board meeting. I've built a safety net. There's a difference. But he was right. What started as my personal mission had become a movement. Donors around the world were organizing, advocating, sharing their stories. The documentary had helped. So had the legislation. But mostly it was donors realizing they didn't have to suffer in silence anymore. We're changing the narrative, said Jennifer Wu, one of our staff attorneys. For decades, the story was, donation is beautiful. Don't question it. Now the story is, donation is beautiful, and donors deserve protection. Both things can be true. In June 2024, I received an invitation to speak at the World Transplant Congress in Prague. They want you to keynote, Marcus said, showing me the email. 5,000 transplant professionals from around the world. This is huge. I'm not a medical professional. No, you're something better. You're a donor who fought back and won. You're proof that the system can change. Standing on that stage in Prague, looking out at 5,000 transplant surgeons, coordinators, ethicists, and researchers, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Belonging. My name is Jordan Rivers, I began. 4 years ago, I donated my kidney to save a man's life. That man used my donation to steal my identity and commit $8.7 million in fraud. For a long time, I was the story transplant professionals didn't want to tell, the cautionary tale that might scare people away from donating. But I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to challenge you. Living donation is one of the most beautiful expressions of human compassion. But for too long, we've protected that beauty by hiding the costs. We've celebrated donors as heroes while ignoring the very real risks they face. Medical complications, financial devastation, employment discrimination, exploitation. We've treated donors like means to an end, valuable for what they can provide, disposable once they've provided it. That has to change. The Living Donor Protection Act in the United States is a start. But legislation alone isn't enough. We need a cultural shift in how the transplant community thinks about donors. Donors aren't just biological tissue suppliers. We're people whose lives continue after donation, whose health matters, whose financial security matters, whose safety matters. Every transplant program should have mandatory long-term donor follow-up, not optional check-ins, independent donor advocates with no ties to the transplant team, comprehensive education about real risks, not minimized statistics, financial planning support for donors facing income loss, legal protections built into every donation agreement, red flag training for coordinators to identify potential exploitation. This isn't radical. This is basic human decency. I was exploited because the system failed to protect me, because the focus was entirely on the recipient's needs, never the donor's vulnerability, because no one asked, what happens to Jordan after she gives up her kidney? That question should be central to every transplant evaluation, not an afterthought, not a checkbox. Because here's what I've learned from 15,000 donors in our registry. Most of us don't regret donating. We regret being abandoned afterward. We regret discovering our generosity wasn't valued beyond what it could provide. We regret learning that our lives mattered less than the organs we gave. You have the power to change that. Every surgeon, every coordinator, every ethicist in this room can commit to treating donors as complete human beings worthy of lifelong care and protection. The man who exploited me is in prison. But the system that enabled him is still functioning, still creating vulnerable donors, still prioritizing transplant numbers over donor welfare. That system needs to change, and you're the ones who can change it. Don't just celebrate us when we donate. Protect us, follow us, support us. Advocate for us. Treat our post-donation lives as mattering just as much as the lives we saved. Because every donor deserves to be more than a hero. We deserve to be human. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, dozens of transplant professionals approached me with stories of donors they had failed, systems they wanted to improve, commitment to doing better. You've started something irreversible, said Dr. Hans Mueller, president of the World Transplant Congress. The global transplant community will never look at donor welfare the same way again. Good, I said. That's exactly what I wanted. In August 2024, I received a call from a lawyer in Dubai. Miss Rivers, my name is Rashid Al-Hamadi. I represent Mr. Hassan Al-Mansouri. Are you familiar with that name? No. Should I be? Perhaps not. Mr. Al-Mansouri is a businessman who received a kidney transplant in 2020. The kidney was obtained through, let's say, questionable channels. He recently learned that the organ came from you, sold by Ethan Cross on the black market. My blood went cold. My kidney is in Dubai? It's in Mr. Al-Mansouri. And he's been searching for you since learning of your case. He wants to make amends for unknowingly benefiting from the crime committed against you. He didn't know. He knew he was buying an organ on the black market. He didn't know it was stolen from an unwitting donor. When he learned your story through the documentary, he was horrified. He's asked me to reach out with an offer. What kind of offer? A substantial donation to your foundation. And something else, he would like to meet you, if you're willing, to apologize in person for benefiting from what was done to you. 3 weeks later, I flew to Dubai. Hassan Al-Mansouri was in his late 60s, a successful real estate developer who had been dying of kidney failure when a medical broker offered him a solution. I paid $200,000, he told me in his office overlooking the Persian Gulf. I was desperate. My children needed me. I convinced myself the donor was willing, fairly compensated. I didn't ask questions I should have asked. You didn't know I was coerced. No. But I knew the organ trade is exploitative. I knew someone was likely being taken advantage of. I chose not to care because I wanted to live. You're alive because of my kidney. I'm alive because of your sacrifice. A sacrifice you never agreed to. Miss Rivers, I cannot undo what was done, but I can ensure your generosity, however unwillingly given, serves some good purpose. He handed me a bank statement, an account in my foundation's name. Balance. $50 million. I stared at the number, unable to process it. This is too much. This is appropriate. My life was purchased with your suffering. The least I can do is ensure your suffering creates something meaningful. Use this money to protect other donors, to prevent others from being exploited as you were. Let my guilt fund your mission. Mr. Al-Mansouri. Please, call me Hassan, and please, accept this. Not as payment nothing could pay for what was taken from you, but as acknowledgement that I'm living on your generosity, and the least I can do is help you ensure no one else pays the price you paid. I accepted the donation, and with $50 million in new funding, the Phoenix Donor Protection Foundation became a global operation. October 2024, 4 years after the donation that changed everything, I was in Washington, D.C. for the 1-year anniversary celebration of the Living Donor Protection Act. The event brought together donors, legislators, transplant professionals, and advocates. During the reception, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 25, with nervous energy and determined eyes. Miss Rivers, I'm Sarah Chen. I'm a medical student at Johns Hopkins, and I'm planning to donate my kidney next month to a stranger. That's wonderful. Brave. I'm also terrified, because I've read your story. I know what can go wrong, but I'm doing it anyway because of what you've built. Because I know if something goes wrong, there are protections now. There's support. There's the foundation. The system isn't perfect yet, but it's better. It's so much better than it was 4 years ago. And that's because of you. So I wanted to thank you for fighting, for not letting what happened to you make you cynical, for making it safer for people like me to do this. I felt tears in my eyes. You're going to be okay. And if you're not, we'll be there. The foundation will be there. I promise. I know. That's why I'm brave enough to do this. After she left, Marcus found me on the terrace. You okay? I just met a donor who's donating because of what we built. Because she trusts the system will protect her. 4 years ago, I almost died in your guest room because I had lost all hope. And now there's a whole generation of donors who have hope because of what came from that despair. That's legacy, Jordan. It's strange. Ethan wanted a legacy, his name on a company, his face on magazine covers, his story told as inspiration, and all of it was built on lies. But I never wanted legacy. I just wanted to survive. And somehow survival became something bigger. That's because you built on truth, not lies. Truth lasts. Lies collapse. In December 2024, I wrote an essay for the Foundation's newsletter. It was addressed to the person I had been 4 years ago, the woman standing in that hospital fundraiser, about to make a choice that would destroy and rebuild her life. Asterisk, Dear Jordan. Asterisk. Asterisk. 4 years from now, you'll be standing in your guest bedroom holding a bottle of pills, wondering if survival is worth the cost. You'll have lost everything, your health, your career, your savings, your faith in humanity. You'll have given someone the most precious gift possible and watched them turn it into a weapon. Asterisk. Asterisk, I wish I could tell you not to donate, not to trust Ethan Cross, not to sign those documents without reading them, not to be so eager to help that you forget to protect yourself. Asterisk. Asterisk, but I can't tell you that. Because if you don't donate, if you don't get exploited, if you don't hit absolute rock bottom, you never build the foundation. You never testify before Congress. You never change the laws that protect thousands of donors. You never meet Hassan in Dubai or Sarah in DC. You never transform your worst moment into a movement. Asterisk. Asterisk. So instead, I'll tell you this. Asterisk. Asterisk. You're going to survive. Not just physically, you'll survive emotionally, financially, spiritually. You'll discover you're stronger than you ever knew. You'll learn that being broken open isn't the same as being broken. That sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're actually made of. The kidney you give away will save 2 lives. One, literally, Hassan al-Mansouri is alive because of you, and he's a good man who deserved to live. And one, figuratively, you save yourself by transforming victimization into advocacy. Asterisk. Ethan will go to prison. CrossMed will collapse. And you'll build something better than anything he ever created. Something that actually helps people instead of exploiting them. Something built on truth instead of lies. You'll meet other donors who are just as broken as you are, and together, you'll create a community that proves pain doesn't have to be terminal. It can be transitional. 4 years from now, you'll be standing on a stage in Prague, telling your story to 5,000 people. You'll be running a $62 million foundation. You'll have changed federal law. You'll have protected thousands of donors from the fate you suffered. And you'll finally understand what your mother meant when she told you. The worst things that happen to us aren't punishments. They're invitations to become someone we never could have been otherwise. You're about to be invited to become someone extraordinary. It's going to cost you everything, and it's going to be worth it. Love, Future Jordan asterisk, asterisk P.S. Your remaining kidney is going to hold up fine. Stop worrying about it. Asterisk, 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 Jordan Rivers. Asterisk, asterisk, founder and CEO, Phoenix Donor Protection Foundation. $62 annual budget. Advocate, author of The Gift and the Cost, A Donor's Journey. Keynote speaker at medical conferences worldwide. Recipient Presidential Citizens Medal, 2025. Health status. Stable. Managed with medication. Regular monitoring. Net worth. $4.2 million from book sales, speaking fees, modest foundation salary. Relationship status. Dating Dr. Lisa Wong, the Johns Hopkins researcher who became a close friend and partner, lives in Brooklyn. NY modest apartment, not the one she lost. Asterisk, asterisk, Ethan Cross. Asterisk, asterisk, leader of in Halima. Federal inmate has heights 7.64 to 0.54. FCI Allenwood medium. Serving year 3 of 15-year sentence. Works in prison library. teaching other inmates to read. Has paid $2.1 million of $8.7 million. Restitution ongoing. Receives no visitors except his attorney. Reportedly working on a memoir titled The Man Who Took Too Much. No publisher interested. Asterisk, asterisk. The other 6 victims. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Amanda Pierce. Phoenix. Asterisk, asterisk. Got her medical billing license reinstated. Now works for the foundation, helping donors navigate insurance issues. Asterisk, asterisk. David Nguyen. Seattle. Asterisk, asterisk. Conviction overturned in 2023. Released from prison. Lawsuit against the state pending. Active donor advocate. Asterisk, asterisk. Rebecca Walsh. Dallas. Asterisk, asterisk. Regained custody of her children in 2024. Nursing license restored. Working to rebuild her life. Asterisk, asterisk. James Rodriguez. Miami. Asterisk, asterisk. Settled wrongful death lawsuits. Using settlement to fund donor support groups. Asterisk, asterisk. 3 others. Asterisk, asterisk. Prefer to remain anonymous. All received restitution. All recovering. Asterisk, asterisk. Hassan. Al-Mansouri, Dubai. Asterisk, asterisk. Continuing to fund Phoenix Foundation expansion globally. Became an advocate against organ trafficking. Started foundation in UAE for ethical organ donation promotion. Visits Jordan annually to receive kidney report, checking on his organ's original donor. Refers to Jordan as the woman who saved me twice. Asterisk, asterisk. Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Transplant coordinator. Asterisk, asterisk. On. Asterisk. Develop new donor protection protocols adopted by 127 transplant centers. Co-authored transplant ethics textbook with Jordan's input. Speaks publicly about her failure to protect Jordan and lessons learned. Serves on Phoenix Foundation Medical Advisory Board, unpaid. Asterisk, asterisk. CrossMed Technologies. Asterisk, asterisk. Declared bankruptcy, March 2022. Assets acquired by legitimate medical tech company. Technology still in use. It was actually good, but rebranded. Former employees largely found work elsewhere. Name is now synonymous with cautionary tale in healthcare innovation. The Living Donor Protection Act, passed and signed into law April 2024. Protections have helped 8,700 donors in first year. Prevented estimated 200+ exploitation cases. Model legislation adopted by Canada, UK, Australia. Up for expansion in 2026 to include deceased donor family protections. Asterisk, asterisk. The documentary, The Gift and the Cost. Asterisk, asterisk. 67 million views worldwide as of December 2024. 1 Emmy for Outstanding Documentary. Used in medical schools as teaching tool. Credited with 23% increase in donor registrations. People feel safer donating with protections in place. Spanish, French, Mandarin versions released 2024. Asterisk, asterisk. Phoenix Donor Protection Foundation. Asterisk, asterisk. 28,000 registered donors in database. $62 million annual budget. Offices in 12 U.S. cities. Expanding internationally. Prevented 200+ exploitation cases. Covered $18.6 million in uncovered donor medical expenses. Provided legal representation to 340 exploited donors. 94% of assisted donors report satisfaction with services. Lobbying for expanded protections in 27 states. Asterisk, asterisk. Jordan's health. Asterisk, asterisk. Remaining kidney functioning at 85% capacity. Chronic pain managed with physical therapy and medication. Blood pressure controlled with 2 medications. Can work full-time with modifications. Requires quarterly medical monitoring. Prognosis. Good. With continued management. Will always be higher risk, but stable. Asterisk, asterisk. The kidney. Asterisk, asterisk. Still functioning in Hassan Al-Mansouri. Last checkup showed excellent compatibility. Projected lifespan, 15 to 20+ years. Has processed approximately 47,000 liters of blood since transplant. Saved a good man's life. Indirectly saved thousands more through the foundation it inspired. November 18th, 2025. 5 years to the day since the surgery. I'm standing in front of 500 donors at the Phoenix Foundation's annual conference. Every person in this room gave an organ to save someone's life. Some had easy recoveries. Some had complications. Some were exploited. All of them are survivors. 5 years ago today, I tell them, I woke up from surgery missing a kidney and thinking I had just done the most generous thing I would ever do. I had no idea I had actually just enrolled in the hardest lesson of my life. That generosity without protection is dangerous. That helping people is beautiful. But martyrdom is stupid. That I was worth saving too. It took losing everything to learn that. It took being exploited, abandoned, destroyed, and rebuilt to understand that I didn't owe anyone my destruction just because I gave them my kidney. Ethan Cross taught me what evil looks like. But all of you, you've taught me what resilience looks like, what community looks like, what turning pain into purpose actually means. We didn't ask to become advocates. We just wanted to help someone. But when the system failed us, we had a choice. Stay victims or become activists. And every person in this room chose activism. That's why we're winning. That's why the laws are changing. That's why future donors will have protections we didn't. Because we refused to let what happened to us be the end of the story. So, thank you. For your kidneys, your liver segments, your bone marrow, your generosity. But more than that, thank you for your voices. For your refusal to stay silent. For your insistence that donors matter as much as recipients. You're not just survivors, you're revolutionaries. And I'm honored to fight alongside you. The applause is thunderous. These are my people. Not because we share trauma, but because we share purpose. After the conference, I take a walk through Central Park. It's cold, nearly winter. The kind of day where your breath makes clouds and your hands need pockets. My phone buzzes. A text from Lisa Wong. Dinner tonight? I'm craving Thai food and good company. I smile and text back. Perfect. See you at 7. 5 years ago, I was broken, alone, certain my life was over. Today, I have a foundation that matters. Work that saves people. A partner who loves me. Health that's managed. A future that's uncertain but mine. Ethan took my kidney. But he didn't take me. He just cleared away everything I thought defined me so I could discover who I actually was underneath. Turns out, I'm someone who doesn't stay down. Someone who transforms pain into protection. Someone who builds rather than destroys. I'm someone who gave away an organ and got a purpose in return. That's not the trade I wanted to make, but it's the trade that made me. What hurts the most isn't being betrayed. It's being betrayed by someone you saved. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Sometimes the worst thing that ever happens to you is also the invitation to become the person you were always meant to be. Ethan Cross is in prison, living on the kidney I gave him, thinking about all the years he'll never get back. I'm free, living on the kidney I kept, building a future that protects thousands of people he'll never hurt. He got 15 years of incarceration. I got the rest of my life to prove that survival isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a legendary comeback. If you made it to the end, you're family now. Subscribe because next week's story will blow your mind.